Hi there and welcome back to Heritage HQ and our latest Heritage Live. Sorry for the delay there, but we are now here in the hot seat. Today we're joined by one of our most popular guides, culturalist and naturalist extraordinaire, Suzanne Noakes, to discuss all things Indonesia and Melanesia. These are regions she is both incredibly passionate about and has explored in great depth, leading more than 100 expeditions here. We're super excited to have Suzanne back on both our Indonesian Explorer and Discover the Secrets of Melanesia voyages later this year. Welcome, Suzanne. It's awesome to see you again. Fantastic to have you here.
Thanks, Isaac. It's every day is an adventure, even getting into the virtual world.
It certainly is. As with our previous Heritage Live events, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them down below and we'll come back to them at the end. All right, so shall we get started?
Sounds like a great idea.
So, while everyone most likely knows where Indonesia is, some people might not be so familiar with Melanesia. Can you tell us a little bit about the region?
Yeah, I suppose it's more of a geographical name. It was coined in the early 1800s by a French explorer, and that was about the same time that you would have started reading about Micronesia and Polynesia. So Melanesia is derived from a Greek word, so it's melan, dark, so it was the dark islands, tend to be the tone or the colour skin tone of those that were more within the region. But it pretty much, in simple terms, it includes the islands of Papua New Guinea. I'm going to say New Guinea in itself, so West Papua New Guinea. In fact, they now believe that the Torres Strait Islands within the north of Australia comes into that sort of Melanesian line. It then wanders down through into the Solomons, into Vanuatu, New Caledonia, and Fiji. Hopefully I've got all the islands there. And probably roughly about 2,000 islands are all sort of within that Melanesian group.
Oh wow, so lots of intricate waterways and small places to pop and visit. So perfect for expedition cruising then.
Exactly. Did you like how I led you there?
Yes, you can lead a horse to water.
Absolutely, Isaac. Honestly, it's a wide, large area with limited flights, limited accommodation, and there really is no better way to explore the waterways, as you said, and the islands than on an expedition ship. And Heritage offers the opportunity to really go to some of these far-flung islands, places that others really don't go to. They make the effort to include some of these incredible places.
Oh wow, and we're just having a look at some of these places now. Definitely see why you want to be on a small ship.
Yeah, you know, and so where we go to on these itineraries, obviously, you know, it's planned, and it has taken years to put together some of these incredible islands. We will see some of the outer islands, and they have a touch of Polynesian. So they are those that probably would have only been inhabited about 5,000 odd years ago. And some of the cultural intensities of these places merge. So they give us really quite an extraordinary viewpoint into where people live and how they survive in some of these remote places.
And you've been leading expedition here for more than 25 years and over 100 trips. What keeps bringing you back?
I know, God,
for the 25 years.
I know. When I read that, it's like, whoa, yeah. Oh, look, it's just exciting every time I learn something new. Every time, you know, there's a new sing-sing, you know, that's a dance, you know, there's a new way of doing art. There are clever adaptations to living in the modern world. There are new islands, new ethnic groups to explore that we, you know, seem to have, you know, missed last time or found out, you know, that they're living on the edge somewhere different. there's endemic birds to find, landscapes to explore. As you can see, these are just some of the jewels that we'll be traveling through. There's always new history to uncover. There always seems to be new coral reefs to, you know, to snorkel over. Isaac, you know what? Standing on the expedition ship, I have to say, watching the islands lift up out of the water as we sort of glide to them, it just transports me, I suppose, back into the age of exploration, you know, or this discovery. You know, it's fascinating, I think, when we go into villages sometimes that are still practicing, you know, their forefathers' ways or traditions. They still live in thatched houses. They still believe in myths and legends. But they have a wonderful satellite that's able to, you know, broadcast our arrival, I suppose, or a radio system. You know, I think it's those adaptations to that, you know, the satellite age that always fascinates me. And it really is about, you know, coming home. These are family and friends that I've, you know, known over many years. I often wonder how many, you know, when I go back, and that's why the name tags are always wonderful when you go ashore. By now, I think there is, you know, upwards of about 50 Suzannes that are, you know, through the South Pacific.
Certainly your descriptions there are transporting me out of winter here in Christchurch at the moment. Looking at those images and these destinations, it just looks like paradise. Is it paradise?
Look, it's everyone has their own sort of, you know, tilt on what paradise is, but these are certainly places where we go to that you don't need your editing tools on your camera. You know, you can easily clip a, you know, postcard photo each time in each corner. And I think it's because you're out on the high seas, and then you're coming into these amazing islands and groups of islands, and you know, dotted with trees and forest or marine life. You know, there's always something around the corner. And Heritage has always been fantastic at taking advantage of those just around the corner surprises, you know, where serendipity will take us. You know, they're all too eager to go, let's go up on top, you know, it's a fantastic sunset, you know, let's go and explore those islands out in the Zodiac. We've got some time. You know, we've heard about a fantastic nesting or breeding area over here. Let's go and explore that. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's an underground, you know, an underwater volcano erupting. Let's go check that out, you know. So there's all those sorts of things that you can't do if you're not on an expedition ship.
Absolutely, and it sounds like they're quite full days as well from what you're telling us there.
Yeah.
I understand there's some next level hospitality involved as well. These people in villages and islands and atolls must really enjoy welcoming visitors.
Absolutely. You got to remember, Isaac, we may be the only visitor that they see for the whole year, maybe even in a couple of years, you know, so it's pretty exciting. You know, it's a wonderful opportunity, you know, to be greeted. Remember, not so long ago, you know, probably a couple of 100 years ago, we'd probably be greeted by, you know, sharp sticks and spears from, you know, people coming out on their canoes. Probably would have us for dinner that night. Thankfully, these days, it's all in jest. So everyone loves to see the faces on the visitors when the welcoming party of these young kids come screaming up to the boat or running out and, you know, pretend attack, you know, the Zodiac. I think it's more for, you know, their pleasure than ours. Everyone just loves to have, you know, the antics of showing off their traditions. This is an opportunity where traditional dances, you know, this is a break from the normal drudgery of, you know, hunting and gathering and farming and fishing. Everyone gets a chance to put on their traditional dress, match it up with some, you know, Western style look. and they really just love being able to showcase their culture. It's very important to them. It's important for us to be a part of that, you know, to enjoy those special moments. You know, like I've often received programs on arrival from, you know, the chief organizer. We could be there for 2 weeks. You know, they've organised.
That sort of brings us through to our next question. Could you sort of talk us through a typical, not that there's probably a typical welcoming ceremony?
Yeah, so often on arrival, you know, it's different for each village, but often we would have a welcome. Sometimes it could be, you know, the spear wielding youth. Sometimes it could be a lineup of elders or chiefs that are greeting each of us. Sometimes our feet might be washed, that we would have be cleansed of any sort of bad spirits that we might be bringing ashore. There could be fresh flowers, there could be many handshakes, there could be, if they know we're coming, sometimes they've been up practicing for about 3 days or so. Sometimes they've built structures, they've even built seats, or they've borrowed chairs from, you know, the local school. There's always a ceremonial welcome, then there's dances, sometimes then there's, you know, show and tell of what it's like in the village life. Always you are adopted by someone. There will always be someone, there's a local guide, often with a name tag on, and so they've been elevated for the day to show the visitors around. Normally they are teachers, people with good English, so it helps, you know, to share cultures if you speak the same language.
Otherwise we have people like yourself on board.
Exactly. And so, yeah, so it's sort of going out, walking across the island, exploring the waterways. You know, it's, I suppose, a chance for us to get to know people. I often, sort of the bigger picture is, we're like ambassadors when we leave. So these tiny little island states, sometime in the near future, they might need an extra voice, or they might need support. And here we are, you know, the people who visited these places, visit the islands, know the challenges, know also the wonders of these nations that are trying to survive, you know, in the outer South Pacific. And, you know, there's no better way to explore someone than to visit them in their own home and understand what they do.
Absolutely. And it looks like audience participation is appreciated. How important is it to take part?
Absolutely important. Yes, there will be moments when the villagers will ask us up to dance. There will be a moment where, in fact, in a couple of occasions, the village dancers have done, have incorporated some of our national dance, the hokey pokey. I've seen in a dance every now and then. I've also seen the legend of the heritage ship when it first came into one of the villages that we visited on the outer rim of the Solomons. They have now incorporated that within a dance. They also had an occasion on the Solomons a few years back. We had the opportunity of seeing a village that had trekked down for a couple of days onto the coastal area. We had had a brief, you know, that this is what is expected, that they would like us to dance. The only thing that, of course, and to show full respect, we had to dance naked. Yeah. And so that was a unique experience for the whole crew. I thought I had talked it up enough that everyone was going to follow me. But unfortunately, no, it ended up being 3 people. And obviously not to scare the viewers at the moment, we're showing just a couple of the side line troupe or the musical, but really quite a unique experience with the Kauai people. Something that I will definitely cherish for a long time.
And
there we go. Dr. Professor Tim Flannery. Yes, he was my cohort in shedding our Western clothes, showing a
And inhibitions, maybe.
absolutely. You can see me just through to
And behind the gentleman, yeah.
he was my modesty man.
He was indeed. He's doing a good job.
So that was something not done before. We probably shouldn't scare off those thinking that that's for every sing-sing we're expected to
No,
take.
not at all.
We did have a modesty lap, and the women got to wear, you know, like enough floral necklaces so that we felt everything was covered, but a unique experience. And I have to tell you, that will be talked about by the villagers for the next 5 years. You know, that brings them a huge amount of pride when we are seen as being involved and not just standing, you know, to the sidelines and being spectators.
And not many people are going to be able to tell that story, are they?
Not many at all. I'm not quite sure if it's going to be a repeat act, but definitely in the other villages that we've been or go to and that we are invited into, there are always sacred dance moments that we would be given permission, you know, to join in. And that is definite within parts of the Solomons and the Noipe people. That's an image that's being shown here now. And so this is up where, you know, they have a number of incredible sacred dances with red feather money, and it's a coming out of their elders, and it's just, you can feel the vibration of the ground. In Vanuatu, we are invited into the Rom dance, which is, again, is another sacred dance performed by the men of the village, and the spirits are transformed into these masks. And this is, you know, thousands of years old, these dances. And again, you just feel this sense of pride. And it's very privileged for us to actually sort of have a glimpse into some of these incredible dances. Not the full dance is never shown to us. I suppose almost like a you know, a prelude, or it's a trailer, I suppose, you know, for us to just understand how important these cultures are. It's also important for the villages that we go to, because there's been a resurgence in cultural dances within the Pacific Islands, and there has definitely been a push for them to be continued, and also to teach the young of their traditions and their links with their ancestral beliefs.
And it sounds like it would be absolutely incredible to be part of. Are there things that we do need to be mindful of so we don't cause any offence?
Yeah, we do go through this on the voyage before we sort of step on or into our first village. A few reminders that we often do. You know, the islands of Melanesia, the villages really do forgive our faux pas. You know, they're really very tolerant. However, a smile is always a good thing. Being ready to have your you know, hand shaken 100 times. Everyone loves to touch and everyone loves to shake your hands. Coming out of this interesting, you know, travel period, people have sort of isolated themselves and haven't had too much physical interaction. Be ready. People will be, you know, a little bit more, interested in being around you and interested in what you're doing. Believe it or not, pointing. So it's rude, it's seen as rude. So trying not to point, trying to use your whole hand if you're wanting someone to come to you. Take your sunglasses off when you're saying hello. It's a sign of respect to actually look someone in the eye and introduce yourself. It's a conservative area. It's over the last couple of 100 years. It has quite a lot of Christian involvement. So no skimpy, you know, swimsuits around the village, or, you know, being mindful of just dressing a little bit more conservatively when we are visiting villages. If there is a chief, you sit a little lower than the chief, showing respect, not standing behind him, getting to know the people, you know, you're with. Other than that, it's ask your guide. There's a local guide that's with you. And the beauty of, as I said, English being widely spoken throughout, you get a chance to sort of say, well, what would you like me to do? What should I do? Most of the time, sometimes you're invited into homes, you know, take your shoes off, sign of respect, take your hat off, going into any spirit houses. They may not tell you that, but, you know, that's why I'm on board. I remind everyone of these little sort of nuances when we go to each of the places that we visit.
And I imagine that they're all probably quite unique and different as the places we're visiting as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll also be visiting and supporting some amazing conservation places. Can you tell us about some of the conservation efforts going on in the region?
Yeah, heritage is actually pretty special in that regard, because it has on all of its programs really tried to include a variety in the places that we do visit. And a couple of those places, and one in particular is Te Pari. And Te Pari was set up, and it's in the western province of the Solomon Islands. And it pretty much is very hard. My apologies for that. Is that me ringing?
Oh, I think it was.
Okay, so
you're a popular woman.
I seem to be today. I think I've lost you now. Have I lost you?
No. No.
Oh, that's good, because I can't quite see you, but that's okay. I'll keep on going.
Okay. Yep. Soldier on. We're all good.
Can you see me though?
I can.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'll keep on going. There we go. Sorry
about those amazing conservation areas that we visit.
My apologies. Yeah. So a couple of places we visit. Te Pari, as I mentioned, the western province of the Solomon Islands. It has created. Some of the challenges that Solomons have had in recent years has been logging, and so the logging companies had come in and wanted to log this pristine island. Hadn't been inhabited for about 150 years, and there's a whole other story to that, which everyone will get to know when we're on board. But pretty much the community came together and saved it, and they are really committed to saving this pristine wilderness. They have now put in place rangers, training programs. It is the marine area that the leatherback, the green and hawksbill turtles come each year. And they are also put in a tagging zone on that, so that they can check the health of the turtles. They can check their return. They can guide and help the hatchlings to see if they can, you know, get to a better life. And it's really quite an extraordinary experience. The community itself has written a book. They also do a number of research programs, and they really should be commended for what they do. Heritage visiting them, utilizing their expertise, and of course, you know, compensating, I suppose, when we go to any of these villages, we pay the due respects of visiting villages and contributing to these funds helps tremendously. It's like we are trading, you know, so we are seen as the trade vessel, and we're trading knowledge, we're giving funds. We're also educating both ourselves and local people to the better way of looking after this environment.
And that's a message that guests obviously can take away with them and share with their friends and throughout their communities as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, and there's some unique ways, and on board we'll also talk a little bit more. In particular, there's new ways now in the Solomons. Our marine biologist has a fantastic stories of some of the new ways of fishing, some of the new ways of you know, harvesting throughout that area. You know, so every year these types of little communities and areas close by understand the value of looking after the marine. So what they're doing is, I suppose it's like, you get the poachers come in and now they're the rangers. You get the loggers come in and now they're the maintenance people, you know. So what they're trying to do is to give a continued income, and so that the local villagers understand, and this has a broader reach across all of the islands, not just on Te Pari. The other islands can say, oh, okay, well, that works. We don't have to sell off our island and get all that, you know, logging done. We can actually maintain it. We can regrow, and then people will come and see and visit, you know, and there will be, you know, an income. So, you know, in this new age, villagers still have to have an income. You have to pay school fees. You have to pay for fuel. You know, there's no bartering or bargaining, I suppose, for those items anymore. So if they can replace that with sustainable and conservation efforts, then, you know, it might be a nice new world order in these Pacific Islands in the future.
Oh, for sure. And so amazing to be part of it and to be able to support it yourself. This area is also quite famous for the incredible traditional arts and the artists that live here. What can you tell us about the artists, the art? I can see some of it behind you. Did something I prepared earlier.
I think I whipped up, exactly. You can tell I have this each time I travel. I seem to have, you know, like I pick a favorite. So last time was the figurines, so you can see all them. That is only about a third of what is in my house at the moment. I then went a couple of years back collecting pigs. So I have woven pigs, wooden pigs. I have, you know, shell pigs. No, what do I have? I have stone pigs. I don't know. I've got all of those. Yeah, so the artifact, it's a huge area that we're traveling through. So the artifacts range from string bags to masks to, you know, like there's shell money that you often see within, you know, Solomon's and parts.
I think that's what we have up now, is it?
Yeah, Vanuatu, yeah. So that's a whole new story. So from the Solomons through down into Vanuatu, there's shell money. And then you see, you know, good luck with getting your bamboo flutes back on, but I did try And so the masks range, this is more within the Papua New Guinea area. I also had a fetish for canoe paddles. So try, you know, that started to get a little bit harder to get back. But from the rudimentary or rustic to really the refined bowls and baskets that we will find as we move down through Melanesia. So as we move towards, you know, the Solomons and Vanuatu, you start to have these beautiful inlaid styles, you know, statues, and this is a canoe prow, down to the fine art of this is the Kauai people in their, oh no, Noipa, I think, I'm sorry, with the these beautiful hair combs. They're just exquisite.
And amazing detail.
Oh, amazing detail. An example of these are actually within many museums throughout the world. So there's these, you know, to the bold, to the intricate. There is something for everyone if you're interested. The red feather money, it is now moving to more of a archival, hard to actually purchase and take away, but this is a museum piece within some of the villages. I'm careful to, you know, mind people, let's not take all of the art away from the villagers. Sometimes people do get a little carried away and want to sell off, you know, their, you know, auntie's red feather money or auntie's beautiful, you know, sacred art pieces. Be mindful, ask who it belongs to and the meaning of it, and if you know, and be respectful with, you know, paying for items. It's not a bargaining area. Pretty much the price is set. It's unlike other places in Asia where you then, you know, haggle it down. There's no real haggling. The price is there. Sometimes if you ask for a second price, it's higher than the first price.
That's a lesson for everybody, really, isn't it?
So you go, oh, okay.
And obviously it's quite important to also support these artists as well, but also
Exactly.
obviously being mindful.
Exactly. Yeah, well said, Isaac.
And what do we need to know about bringing it home? Like, obviously there's going to be some things. You mentioned the bamboo flutes might not be a goer at customs.
Well, no, only the size. You can go for it as long as there's no insects and something crawling around. It's a little bit of a misconception for you know, travelers that, oh no, I can't take anything home. Yeah, you can. You know, as you can see by my back wall. You know, wood's fine, you know, as long as there's no borer holes within your wood. You don't want uninvited guests coming home with you, and quarantine don't like them coming into your country. So, you know, like, you just have a good look at your piece of art, making sure that, you know, there are no borer holes. Other things, and each country is very different to what they allow in and what they don't. I speak more from an Australian and New Zealand point of view, but pretty much, you know, woven baskets, anything like that, as long as you know, give them a good bash on the floor or the bench before you come in. You just need to eradicate any insects. You know, skin, not so much. You know, quarantine in Australia, New Zealand, you know, don't like you bringing back any, you know, there is on the CITES list, and we go through that on the ship as well. You know, so monitor lizards, and there are certain shells, and there are certain things that are a no-go coming through all countries. And I've got a lovely little presentation before we sort of launch in the first buying market. But it is encouraged, you know, it's encouraged to support and purchase. This is their only trade that they might actually get for you know, a couple of years, or it could be next week where they're trading. Who knows? You know, like, it's an opportunity for them for to show their art, and some villages don't have anything. You know, everyone after it tends to be the fact, you know, this couple of days, there's a whole lot of art, and people go, oh, well, I'll just wait. Never wait. If it speaks to you, give it. Because there mightn't be anything, you know, in the next couple of days, and everyone goes, oh, no, we don't do anything, you know. And I've seen where people are going, oh, well, how about that woven basket, you know, and the locals are going, you know, I use that for my, you know, washing clothes. What do you want that for?
So a great tip there.
And local money. There is no FPOS out in these villages.
These regions are also very rich in folklore, like the Lesebset. Can you share a couple of your favorite with us?
Oh, there's just so many. It's one of the ones, I suppose, that sticks more to me is up into the Sea Peak area and along that in Papua New Guinea in itself. There is a figure that's called the Yipon. And I had to go out into my garden to get this, because I actually have a couple of Yipons that I have gathered. These are only sort of two of my favorite ones that I have. And you can see it's got the little one with the good figurine. This part here is the heart. And so it's being covered and protected. And the Yipon, when it has its appropriate spirit that is inhabits it, it goes off and it will look for best hunting area. It used to be utilized for head hunting in the days, but now the villagers use it for good fishing, good hunting. They will still feed the spirit at nighttime with magical herbs, sometimes from special leaves, sometimes even the blood of the owner will be smeared on that. And this one here, it's actually been stained, and I have asked, you can see a little bit of blood on that. So I asked the owner, because he said that the spirit had left it and it had not given him, you know, I was allowed to have it. And when I said, was that his blood? And he said, well, you'll never know, Suzanne. So the spirit probably still lives in some parts of these. I have them out the front of my building, my house, I should say.
Yep.
So each time I go out on an adventure, I wish good luck from my yipon to guide me on my way.
Oh, fantastic. And then there's the wilderness, wildlife, oceans and rivers. This is some of the most biodiverse area on the planet. Can you tell us a bit about it?
Oh, it's big. Look, all researchers or any research that you've done in this area, you know, like it will be sort of, you know, telling you that it's got, you know, 75% of the known coral species, about 3,000 species of, you know, reef-associated fish, you know, over 1,000 plus, probably even more languages spoken within the, you know, the diverse ethnic group. It's still got pristine rainforest. The waterways itself, you know, probably some of the bigger parts of the ocean that any of these islands, I suppose, encompass. It's just one of the most classically biodiverse places, from people to plants to marine to fish. And we get to experience that each day. So the program is pretty diverse. It's a nice mix of, you know, water, land, cruising, people, and if we have to get up at, you know, 4:30 or 5 a.m. in the morning to go and find some of these unique species, we do. Heritage is pretty incredible when it gets to explore a destination.
And that's obviously an optional thing, but why wouldn't you? It's all part of the adventure.
Oh, are you sure? It never seems to be optional for me, Isaac.
Now let's talk about this water. It looks super clear and amazing. What is the snorkeling like there?
Yeah, I enjoy the snorkeling. Each of the areas and each time, I mean, there's, you know, we have our challenges. There is certainly, you know, some of the bleaching of some of the reefs that people talk about, but these out-of-flung areas that we do travel to, we do come across some incredible coral reefs. Coming up to the edge, my favorite is often watching people snorkel to the drop-off. I don't know if you've ever seen it, Isaac. So everyone gets to the drop-off and then just stops, you know, in case they're actually going to fall you know, over the drop-off. But that's just the most magical place where you can sort of see, you know, some of the larger fish, and you can see some of the fantastic coral bommies. My favorite still has to be more in the shallow areas where it's almost like that, you know, the fish aquarium, where you're just moving around soft coral. And you're seeing the anemones, you're seeing, you know, like the Christmas stars that are, you know, sink back down within the coral itself. Those experiences and the chance to just do that within a calm water, and our marine biologists who are on board, you know, are able to educate us all on what we're seeing, what to expect. The thrills of seeing a dugong, you know, when we're in Vanuatu, still stays in my mind. You know, there's just these unique creatures that you hear about, but you don't realize that you might get an opportunity to see.
Absolutely. And speaking of unique creatures, there's also a couple of chances to swim with whale sharks on these itineraries.
Yeah,
this is a massive bucket list for a lot of people. How would you describe this experience?
Oh, once in a lifetime. And this is on the Indonesian program. Yeah, so this is based on our wonderful program on the Indonesian Explorer program. It's extraordinary. The whale sharks are so gentle. they have a mouth the size of which it feels like they're just going to swallow you. They have no care that you're swimming beside, and you can see here, you can just get up close and friendly. And they move up into sort of like the areas that we swim close by. And they're just silent giants. It's extraordinary. You can hardly even hear them sort of like within the water. And it is definitely an experience that everyone will just come away going, oh, I can't believe I just did that.
Watching a bus swim past.
Oh, it's just amazing. It's just incredible.
Our Indonesia voyage also now includes a visit to Komodo Island to see its famed dragons. Where would you place this encounter on a scale of 1 to Jurassic Park?
Oh, mate, it's Jurassic Park. It's just the
But less bitey, right?
Yeah. Look, the island itself, you know how I was sort of saying, you watch these, you know, you're standing out on the deck and you're just watching islands sort of seeming to, you know, lift up out of the sea as you're sort of moving past and through all of these islands. You have a sense even before you get on the island that this is a unique place. You know, it's a bit rugged, doesn't have any sort of trees, or, you know, it sort of looks as though it's that sort of landscape where you are sort of stepping into prehistoric land. And these Komodo dragons are just dragons. They're just quite incredible. I was focusing on my camera the last time I was there and just sort of trying to get the right dimensions and aperture and the whole thing. And I looked up to one of the guests who was simply just looking straight past me. And you know, when it's like, is there something behind me? And so I just go on, tell me that there's something behind me. And it was almost like that would just, it was just there. Sort of paying no real attention to me, almost posing, you know, for the camera itself. You know, so being able to move through the landscape itself, I because it was just so different to any other island, you know, with it being, you know, rainforest clad and, you know, all those types of things. And the beach itself is, you know, quite a different coloured beach to what I've been used to. And some parts of it are a pink colour and other parts of it are volcanic ash colour, so like more of a dark sand. So actually, to step onto the landscape, you go, I'm in for something different here. You know, like this is a really different experience. There's always guides, local guides that are there. These are monstrous. So, you know, some care needs to be taken. Although when I first sort of landed, I've been now a couple of times, and when I went last time, the guide said that they had taken an interest in where the local guides eat their lunch. And I went, wow, be careful.
There's also some next level birding to be enjoyed on these voyages as well. What can you tell us about some of the birding opportunities? We'll run through some photos while you...
Yeah, so the birding itself, I mean, look at this. This is a Wilson's bird of paradise. I believe that's the case.
Yes, you're right. It's on a licking tree.
Look at you go, Isaac. Honestly,
I had to do my homework to keep up with you, Suzanne.
I think something like out of the, you know, 45 different species of birds of paradise, we are traveling through the areas where I think they have nearly all of them. I think this is the Ragiana. Can't quite see it, sorry. So the birds of paradise are a unique bird. That heritage takes it's just extraordinary.
This is going to be one of those early morning starts you were talking about, isn't it?
You've got it. So early morning is definitely when that's the go. And honestly, why wouldn't you? you know, if you are in the place where you're only going to sort of see this, and going on the expedition ship means that we can pull into these little hidden inlets. Yes, there is some tramping up into the bush, but you shouldn't make it too easy to go and see these birds of paradise, because when you get there, and this is one of the bowerbirds, how extraordinary is this? You can see it's collecting its bower, and these are related to the birds of paradise as well. But you've got an opportunity to see some of these incredible birds. Some of the more unique ones, we've got quite a lot of people who are always looking for the white eye. So there's an endemic white eye on most islands. And so the birding itself, sometimes, oh, look at that, I think a rifle. Oh, I don't know what that one is. I'm sorry, no, it's not the rifle. You can tell I'm more, you know, adept at my cultural and people, but I am an enthusiast birder. So I'm a birder in training.
How could you not be, right?
I know, how could you not be? But spectacular opportunities, you know, to see. There's a black-capped lorry. And some of the smaller ones, you know, your honey eaters, people will be familiar with quite a few of the birds that they see, and some will be unique and quite amazing.
And is there any other incredible flora and or fauna you'd like to give a shout out to?
Oh, Isaac, that's a big one. Oh, what's this one? Is this one of Mr. Flannery's photos?
A relative of.
Oh. Look, there's always within the undergrowth, and when we're traveling, and that's why we have our mammologist on board. Some of the butterflies are still one of my favorites. There's some of the huge Hercules moths that, you know, we see. Hopefully, and we have the opportunity later in the afternoon to see some of the flying foxes and bats, you know, throughout the region. I always am quite a lot of guests really love the orchids, love seeing, you know, like the specialists of a lot of our plants that, you know, when we go onto some of these islands, we do get an opportunity to walk through the forest. We get an opportunity to speak to, you know, some of the local specialists of what they use, you know, some of the trees and some of the plants for. And I think that's an important thing, you know, so that, you know, we are learning a little bit each day from, you know, the regional specialists that are on board, and those who know a little bit more about this, as well as the locals.
Absolutely, and you're going to see things that you're not going to see anything else in the world. I think is a good thing to take away from that.
Exactly. That's why it's the largest biodiverse place on the planet, Mr. Isaac.
Above and below the water.
Oh, you just found that. Nice tag.
Okay, it's time to get practical. We're getting pretty close to the equator here. What sort of temperatures can we expect?
Yes, hot.
And weather. Hot, yeah.
Oh, look, you know, it's not too disastrously hot, to be honest. You know, it's, you know, average temperatures, I suppose, you know, outside and in the water always is a nice warm bath. So that's nice. You know, but out and about, you know, temperatures don't really, you know, soar beyond the 35 degrees. Some people might be going, oh, that's a bit hot, but honestly, bring a fan, buy a fan. You know.
I guess there's dressing for it as well, but I know with here at Heritage, we like to get people out in the early part of the day when it's cooler, and then in the afternoon when it's warmer, that's your time to get in the water and snorkel. And
exactly. Yeah. So the program is well planned for that, and that's why we have these early morning starts. Is just so that, you know, we can be in, you know, get those under those island or the, you know, the landings in or early morning. So you always need to have layered dressing works, because believe it or not, out on the Zodiac early morning, it still gets quite cool. And then in the water at the heat of the day, it's a perfect mix.
Awesome. And any pro packing tips for people coming?
Less is best. You always pack too many things. Oh, just quick dry. You know, like long sleeves. The sun, being close to the equator, always being, you know, aware of the sun. Make sure you've got that nice big brimmed hat. The ears are always, the ears and the backs of your knees are the first to get sunburned.
Particularly with the snorkeling, I imagine.
Exactly. And so, you know, just being prepared for that. Also, yeah, quick dry, layered, you know, making sure that, you know, you've, binoculars are important. Even if you are just an amateur, it's wonderful to you know, have something, if you're going all that way, to be able to see some of these things through, you know, the finer lenses of your binoculars are certainly beneficial.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
And finally, we've got there, this is your last question, although there might be some more from our viewers. What are you most looking forward to on your return?
Oh, traveling again.
There's a lot of people in that boat.
Oh, honestly, the sense of adventure. So, you know, it is just being able to explore, to get back, I suppose, to a place I hold dear to my heart. You know, there will be changes. I'm always, I like change. I like the fluidity of seeing adaptation to dances, to art, to how people live. You know, I suppose each time I go with an open mind and an open heart, and you know, I'm ready to take on anything and show the weird and the wonderful to visitors, and I'm really looking forward to sharing a place that is very special to me.
Fantastic. And we have just had a quick look, and there are no questions. Obviously, you've been very comprehensive and given us everything that we need.
Right,
and other than tickets to get on board. Thank you so much, Suzanne. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on Heritage Live. I absolutely know what I want to be doing this October. Hopefully I'll be on board with you. I don't know.
Perfect. Well, look at you, and all the best to everyone else.
And just a reminder, everybody, that Suzanne is joining both our Indonesian Explorer and Discover the Secrets of Melanesia voyages this year. We've also got a promotion on at the moment, so you can get $1,000 off your voyage price, or if you book back to back, you will get the $1,000 off plus a 10% discount. So I don't know. I would be booking.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hang on, I am going.
Wonderful. Oh, well, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for joining us, Suzanne, and for everybody else for joining us as well. If you do have some questions, please feel free to pop them into the feed below, and we can answer them at a later date. Wonderful. Thanks so much for your time, Suzanne.
See ya.
See you later.